Dear friends, I welcome all of you on behalf of White Rose Movement. You may know that White Rose Movement was an anti-fascist organization in 1942 Germany. Now White Rose Movement in India 2020. We are also anti-fascist, we anti-violent, and we are totally against the racism and the fascism and all form of intolerance. White Rose Movement submitting two national online art exhibition during this August against war for peace. We are planning two exhibitions in August 6th and August 9th. August 6th, we start Blue Sky, the shadows of Hiroshima. The second one will start on August 9th, shadows of Nagasaki. In August 6th, the Hiroshima Day, 75 years ago, America dropping bombs in Hiroshima destroyed the civilization of Hiroshima. After 3 days, they repeat the brutal bombing in Nagasaki too. We are submitting this exhibition for peace. We dream our skies always blue. Today, the Blue Sky Shadows of Hiroshima exhibition starts. 65 artists participating from all over India in this exhibition. They exhibit the wall of Blue Sky 150 work of arts. Today, Mr. M.A. Baby, well-known politician and cultural activist, preside the inaugural session, and he will delivering the presidential address. I welcome Mr. M.A. Baby. The exhibition will inaugurate Dr. Ashok Vajpayee. Ashok Vajpayee is a well-known poet and a great thinker, and he is the chairman of Rasa Foundation. He was the chairman of Lalit Kala Academy. I warmly welcome Dr. Ashok Vajpayee sir. Mr. Jose Dominic also here. He is a businessman. He is the CEO of CGH Earth Group Hotels. He is an art lover and art promoter too. He have managing 2 galleries in Kochi. I welcome Mr. Jose Dominic sir. I welcome all of you. I welcome all of the participants, the viewers and the art lovers. I thankful to Mr. Anish, Suman and Sindhu Divagaran for helping and preparing this exhibition like this. Thank you.
Friends, distinguished guests, and my dear artists. Blue Sky, Shadow of Hiroshima. This is how this unique, extraordinary online exhibition is being titled. I congratulate all the artists from different corners of our country and the organizers under the leadership of my very good artist friend Satyabal for having taken this imaginative initiative in bringing art to the direct consideration and reckoning of people when people are under lockdown restrictions. COVID-19 is teaching all of us many new lessons. One lesson that COVID-19 is teaching us is that it is hardly possible for any phenomena to teach humanity real lessons. I doubt whether we are learning the right lessons from our COVID-19 experience or not. This year, being the 75th anniversary of the most shocking, gruesome, and indescribable horror that was dropped on humanity in Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the US administration. When the Second World War actually ended in European theatre, the main battlefield of Second World War. We may recall today that on 8th of May 1945, formal surrender of Hitler and his allies in Europe was completed by signing the surrender documents, 8th of May 1945. And in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, these most horrifying nuclear bombs were dropped 3 months after the war ended in Europe. Japan had no option but to negotiate a settlement. And there were possibilities. I don't want to go into the details of that history. But it is well known that when it was not difficult for the sane humanity to pressurize and persuade Japan to surrender, this new weapon America wanted to show to the world, thereby declaring the superior armament might of USA over the rest of the world, so that the post-war world could be kept under the dominance of United States of America. Now, what had happened 75 years ago in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? There's a shudder moves down the spine of each one of us when we think about what would have been the plight of people, the hapless people, children, women, old men and women. As a result of this dropping of bombs there, American prisoners of war who were there, they were also killed. Canadians, Australians, citizens of United Kingdom, many of them also died. In war terms, they would say it was collateral death of our own people. Now, due to paucity of time, I don't want to mention many things about that gruesome incident. I personally had a most painful experience of having visited Hiroshima and Nagasaki to participate in a peace conference 2 decades ago. With my own eyes, I could see many survivors who were affected with radiation after this dropping of bombs. Here, it is very interesting to note that couple of aircrafts and bombers participated in this dropping of nuclear bombs. And it is very interesting to note that one aircraft had a name, Great Artist. You might have noticed about this. Why they have given this name, Great Artist, to one of the aircrafts? Because that particular pilot who was working in that particular aircraft, he was very famous in bombarding many places. Different bombs used to be used even before nuclear bombs. So, in the art of bombing, this particular pilot was very competent. Therefore, the aircraft which was piloted by this particular pilot was given a name, Great Artist, in order to inadvertently bring ignominy over the profession of artists, those who practice art. Another aircraft was also given a very strange name, which participated in this bombing in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The name given was Necessary Evil. They knew that this is an evil, but they wanted to justify it. Therefore, they stated necessary evil. We, the people and the artists who are participating in this unique online art exhibition, would like to say that that particular name should have been slightly modified. It should have been called not necessary evil. It should have been called avoidable evil. That should have been the name of that particular aircraft. Friends, since my respected friend Sri Ashok Vajpayee ji has to speak and formally open this online exhibition, as he is competent to speak about art, I don't want to tax much on your time. I am reminded of a statement made by great musician, critic, and one of the most famous representatives of critical theory of the Frankfurt School. Adorno said, writing poetry after Auschwitz is barbaric. He was trying to bring out his indignation over what was happening under Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany, the extermination of innocent people on ethnic grounds and on grounds of his intolerance towards criticism. This is well known. After Adorno made that very famous statement, as a continuation of that observation, Bertolt Brecht, the very famous author and theatre personality, what he stated is also known and part of the history of art and literature. He posed the question, in the dark times, will there also be singing? Yes, there will also be singing about the dark times. This is what Bertolt Brecht stated as a sequence to what Adorno stated, not disproving what Adorno said. We also recall at this point of time how great artists reacted to their times, their experiences. In fact, it was before the dropping of bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Pablo Picasso created that very famous work, Guernica, along with one of the artists who is participating in the series of programs, who is very active in the art world today, Riaz Komu. I had the rare experience of having seen the original work of Picasso, Guernica. In fact, that painting is a futuristic painting in a sense. That was a reflection to what happened in Guernica, a small North Spanish town. When Hitler, Mussolini, Franco, they all campaigned and destroyed towns where the Republican progressive forces were having support. This had happened in April 1937. But this painting is equally relevant and meaningful in the context of what had happened a couple of years later in 1945, August 6th and 9th in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So artists, writers, cultural activists, they have this unique competence, ability, which ordinary political workers like us don't possess, to tell society and the world what great destruction is caused by war and conflicts based on unreason. Today, when in the context of the 70th anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, this online art exhibition is dedicated against war and destruction and for love, peace, freedom, and humanity, humanness. Around us there are many evils which needs to be fought. Some of the most brilliant thinkers, human rights activists, rationalists, poets, they are in prison in our country. Wherever Rao is suffering as a result of the great protests that we together could mobilize. Finally, some treatment is being provided to him. At the same time, Gautam Navlak, Anand Tiltunde, Mrs. Sen, Sudha Bharadwaj, Professor Sai Baba, many eminent people. I have only mentioned few names. There are many unknown people also who are brilliant youngsters without any rhyme or reason. Just because the ruling sections, the powers that be, they dislike. They are unable to tolerate dissent, disagreement, or genuine democratic secular criticism. People are being picked up and put in jail using draconian provisions. I remember during emergency and pre-emergency days when MISA existed. Its full form is Maintenance of Internal Security Act. Short form is MISA. Great cartoonist and artist R.K. Lakshmanan drew a cartoon and gave an expansion to MISA, Most Inhuman and Savage Act. Now ruling classes are using most inhuman and savage acts in different parts of the globe. What we are doing here today would inspire people to protest against such fascistic forces. So this is not only the 75th anniversary observation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki tragedy. We have to carry it forward wherever human rights are being violated. What happened to George Floyd in United States of America? What happened to Rohit Vemula in our own country? How artists, writers are being killed and tortured in our country? What happened to Pehlu Khan, Junaid? We remember all this. And I congratulate the artists and those who have taken the initiative in making this possible, so that through art we are able to stand by people. There are times when artworks can operate like artillery in defense of democracy and freedom and against dictators. Thank you very much for your patient listening, and I request my friend Shri Ashok Vajpayee ji to formally open this online exhibition. Thank you very much.
Mr. M.A. Baby, Mr. Satyapal, and friends. To coincide with the 75th anniversary of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it's a very welcome move by White Rose to present an art show called Blue Sky, Shadows of Hiroshima. It's very timely since we are also at the moment facing the Chinese intrusion in our territory. It's also timely that an exhibition of art should be able to focus our sensitivities, our imagination, and our attention of what it means to be waging a war. I'm happy to say a few words by way of inauguration of this important show. Firstly, war looms large on our times almost everywhere. Many small but intense civil wars, uprising, etc. continue to happen in almost every part of the globe. From Second World War to Cold War to now, we continue to use war both as a descriptive noun and as a metaphor. War is an acute and extreme form of violence. It aims to destroy, demolish, defeat the other, to take revenge, territory, assets, etc. And yet we know from the epical epoch of Mahabharata that nobody wins a war, even if it is a dharma yuddha. Pandava's victory was devoid of meaning, security, and significance. War has been a constant theme of literature and the arts. There were times, both perhaps in the ancient and the medieval periods, when arts of poetry, music, spectacle, etc. were used as instruments of war. They accompanied the warring forces. But equally, literature and the arts always depicted the havoc, the destruction, the cruelty war brings about and condemned it. Following the Second World War, during the Cold War period, anti-war and peace-oriented movements rose up globally, and major figures of arts, literature, science, religion, etc. participated in them, raised their voice, their poetry and essay, their paintings and choreographies against war and in favor of peace. Apart from the battlefields, war is fought, more importantly, in the minds of the people. Arts and literature become the sites of fight against war and for peace. 21 years ago, we had a scuffle at Kargil, and then there was a function held in Delhi to celebrate what was called and is still being called India's victory in the war. I was asked to participate, and I composed a poem for my grandson, who was barely 6.5 months old. It was a kind of a note of dissent from celebrating war. I'll read in rough English translation some extracts. A war song for my 6.5 months old grandson. My grandson, we are in a world where every day something beautiful is being destroyed without rhyme and reason by attacks and explosions. Courage is a sacred word. Sacrifice is a sacred word. Resistance is a sacred word. But war cannot be called sacred, even if it is imposed upon us. I know, not only for you, but for all children of the world. But for all, it is time to raise your hands and bow your heads in prayer to save the beautiful and the sacred. Prayer is also a battle. Come without knowing and understanding, without words, my grandson. Raise your fearless hands in prayer. Well, let us remember that war is based and works on a notion that there are others who have to be demolished, destroyed, defeated. And literature and the arts forever demolish this binary itself. Arts and literature tell us that we are them and they are us, that there is really no difference. It is particularly to remember this in these times when there are corporatized wars being launched against the poor, against the underprivileged, against minorities, against women, against Adivasis. It is not declared as a war, but the notion behind is that these are the others who have to be dealt with in a suitable way by either ignoring them or denying the democratic rights of freedom and justice to them. A large number of artists are participating in this exhibition. They are seeking, in a violence, murder, rape, clouded India, a blue sky in a metaphorical sense. Their art is the blue sky, blue with anxiety, with clarity, with tranquility, with peace, with courage, creativity, and conscience. In these darkening times, we are, at least for some time, in the light of art, which removes all the evil shadows and forebodings and gather us in peace and make us feel and breathe under blue sky. Let us be together against war, against denials of freedoms, under the blue sky, feeling the fragrance of white rose. Thank you.
Hello, greetings from Cochin. I am George Dominic, speaking overlooking the Vembanad backwaters. My felicitations to Blue Sky, Art for Peace. Art has such a big role to play, and today we dedicate art and artists for the cause that's so dear to humankind, peace. But this is on the occasion of the centenary of Hiroshima, and we've seen that so much destruction has taken place. All of that, such a big waste. Instead of that, we could use human creativity, human expression of individuality, of human expression of liberty. That is what art represents. And today, as we look at the setting sun, let that setting sun be give rise to a new dawn of hope. And that dawn of hope is through art an artist. My strong felicitations to the exhibition Art for Peace, Blue Sky.
Swaha